politicization of the courts. Let's be responsible as citizens, and let's make up our own minds, recognize when the court's being partisan, when it isn't. But in some of these decisions, there really are decent arguments on both sides, and it's important to familiarize ourselves with them as much as possible.
And I will remind people, because we are probably within 24 hours of a decision on the immunity case, that, as you say, read the majority opinion, read the concurring opinions, and read the dissent, and then form your reply to it. Jeff, as always, thank you, sir. Jeff Rosen is the president and CEO of the National Constitution Center, the host of the We the People podcast, and author of multiple books, including his latest, The Pursuit of Happiness, How Classical Writers on Virtue Inspired the Lives of the Founders and Defined America. All right, straight ahead, NBC News is reporting that President Biden will be meeting with members of his family today to discuss the future of his presidential campaign. This after Biden's debate performance sparked calls for him to step aside. At the same time, the other candidate, the convicted felon, who's actively tried to overturn democracy, who's not facing calls to step aside, is awaiting a Supreme Court opinion on whether he's immune from criminal prosecution in his federal election interference case. I'll talk about all of that with the Democratic Congressman Jamie Raskin. Another hour of Velshi begins right now.
Introducing Ned's plaque psoriasis.
Ned, what are you wearing?
He thinks his flaky red patches are all people see.
Otezla is the #1 prescribed pill to treat plaque psoriasis.
Ned?
Otezla can help you get clearer skin and reduce itching and flaking, with no routine blood tests required. Doctors have been prescribing Otezla for over a decade. Otezla is also
Good morning. Sunday, June 30th. We begin this morning with breaking news regarding the uncertain future of President Biden's re-election bid following his debate performance that has sent many Democrats into panic mode. After holding campaign and fundraising events in North Carolina, New York, and New Jersey in the past couple of days, the president and First Lady Jill Biden arrived in Camp David last night, where members of their family awaited them. And NBC News is reporting that today the Bidens will huddle together to discuss the path forward for the president, as questions persist about his ability to take on Donald Trump this November, let alone handle the toughest job in the world for another 4 years. Today, Biden's family meeting follows reports that Biden campaign leaders held a virtual call with members of the Democratic National Committee yesterday. In the days since the debate, many have voiced an urgent need to reconsider Biden as the Democratic nominee this November. The New York Times and The Economist have already called for the president to step aside and give another Democrat a chance. And last night, the editorial board of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, one of the largest news organizations in the swing state of Georgia, published an op-ed calling for the president to pass the torch to a new nominee. Quote, Biden has pledged to do all he can to prevent Trump from returning to the White House. The election is still 4 months away. If he truly hopes to defeat Trump, he must pass the torch to the next generation of Democratic leaders and urge the party to nominate another candidate at its convention in Chicago in August, end quote. Joining me now is NBC News senior national reporter, politics reporter, Jonathan Allen. John, good morning to you. What do we know about this meeting? Who's going to be at this family meeting? Was it pre-planned, or was this as a result of what happened on Thursday night, and what are they discussing?
Well, it was pre-planned that the president was going to be at Camp David with his family members, which the White House has reiterated today. What was not pre-planned was that they would be talking about poor debate performance, because obviously they didn't know until Thursday that that was going to happen. Our reporting, you saw I think in the graphic there, about 5 of us on that byline. Our reporting is that his family's going to discuss with him, what the future of his campaign looks like. And that's sort of a broad category. As you pointed out, there are people calling for him to get out of the campaign. Anita Dunn was on MSNBC yesterday, a longtime senior advisor to Biden, saying that what he's looking at is what he needs to do next in order to, sort of stabilize after Thursday's debate. My word, not hers, stabilize after Thursday's debate. But obviously the Democratic Party is taking a long look in the mirror right now.
John, keep us posted, please, as you hear more about what's going on. This is, of course, a remarkably important story. John Allen is NBC News senior national politics reporter. Joining me now is the Democratic Congressman Jamie Raskin of Maryland. He's the ranking member on the Oversight and Accountability Committee. He previously served as the lead impeachment manager for the second impeachment of Donald Trump. He was a member of the January 6th committee. He's also the author of the book Unthinkable Trauma, Unthinkable Trauma, Truth, and the Trials of American Democracy. Congressman, it is good to have you here, and I don't really know which one to start with because we have two major issues on our hands. So let me just start with the one that John Allen was talking about. The discussions around the future of the Democratic Party with Joe Biden as the presidential candidate. You are a thinker. Our viewers respect you as such. Tell me your thinking.
Well, I mean, this is what a real political party looks like, and this is what a real political party does. But obviously, there was a big problem with Joe Biden's debate performance, and there's also just a tremendous reservoir of affection and love for Joe Biden in our party. And so this makes it a difficult situation for everybody, but there are very honest and serious and rigorous conversations taking place at every level of our party because it is a political party and we have differences of point of view. I mean, if you compare that to the non-existent dialogue and conversation that took place in the Republican Party after Donald Trump's criminal conviction on 34 counts, it's remarkable. And so we're having a serious conversation about what to do. Well, one thing I can tell you is that regardless of what President Biden decides, our party is going to be unified, and our party also needs him at the very center of our deliberations and our campaign. And so whether he's the candidate or someone else is the candidate, he is going to be the keynote speaker at our convention. He will be the figure that we rally around to move forward and beat the forces of authoritarianism and reaction in the country.
All right, let's move on to the thing in which you are also an expert, constitutional law. We are expecting within 24 hours we will get a decision. It's a very unusual because we could have had this decision from the Supreme Court and this opinion a long time ago about Donald Trump's immunity. Very interesting conversation that I had an hour ago with Judge Michael Ludig and with Lawrence Tribe. I want to just play something that Judge Ludig said because the conversation goes around the fact that even if Donald Trump is not given immunity, it's too late to hold a trial. I put that to Judge Ludig. Here's what he said.
I would urge Jack Smith in the strongest possible terms today not to yield to that cynical partisan politics and to bring this case on for trial even in September or October.
Wow.
In the name of and for the sake of American democracy, the Constitution, and the rule of law.
I would love your take on that. He's saying Jack Smith should go ahead with this if he is at all permitted to by the Supreme Court tomorrow.
Well, I think that in deference to Jack Smith and the executive branch, we've got to let them make their own decisions the way the Supreme Court did not, the way that the majority on the court repeatedly interfered and threw monkey wrenches in that process. I'm smiling only because Judge Ludig, of course, was an extremely conservative Republican judge. And what I'm hearing from a lot of people in his situation, essentially refugees and exiles from Trump land, like Judge Ludig or Liz Cheney or Michael Cohen, these people who are now distinguished patriots standing up for democracy, is they are the people fighting hardest to try to turn things around and make sure that Trump and the forces of MAGA don't run roughshod over our constitutional democracy and everything we believe in. Judge Ludig, I suppose as a professional hazard, places perhaps a little bit more stock in everything that goes on in the courts than I do. I mean, I am not now either in the prognostication business about what courts will do or the adjudication business. I am in the political mobilization business. And for me, this campaign is all about galvanizing millions and millions of people across the country, including disenchanted, renegade Republicans and independents, to come and join the forces of democracy. And that's what's going to save us, not any particular courtroom in the land.
So then that's full circle to our first question about what happens with Joe Biden, because there are lots of sound arguments, and I fully subscribe to them, that 90 minutes does not a presidency make, and that there's no comparison between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. But there is this issue, if you are talking about being somebody who wants to win this election, that there are 100 million eligible voters who sat out the last election. There is a lot of disenchantment amongst voters right now. Thursday may have contributed to yet more of that. What's the best way for Democrats or people who are concerned, whether it's Liz Cheney, Judge Luttig, you, or every other Democrat in this country, to make sure that Donald Trump's not the president of the United States? And I ask you this again to say you didn't rule out the possibility that Joe Biden steps out of the race. What do you think the right thing to do is?
Well, look, we've got a lot of confidence and a lot of faith in President Biden. And, he will have to make the decision about whether or not what happened at the debate was one bad night. And President Obama had one bad night, you remember, in debating Mitt Romney. Yep. Or is it reflective of something else going on? Now, he came back roaring in North Carolina. I thought that was a very sharp and hard-hitting speech when he was in North Carolina. And so that gave me some comfort. But I know that there are still a lot of concerns out there. And those are not concerns that are ill-motivated in any way. Again, we love Joe Biden. He's been a magnificent president. I mean, if you think about the infrastructure plan with, $1.5 trillion investment in the bridges and roads and highways and rural broadband, you think about Inflation Reduction Act and dramatic reductions in prescription drug prices in the Medicare program. I had constituents spending $500 a month on their insulin shots as diabetics. Now that's down to $35. So he's done extraordinary stuff. But the question now is, can we recover from the hit that we took during that debate? And there's, real soul searching going on. But ultimately, President Biden is going to have to make that call. He's the one who's got the supermajority of delegates. The party and the convention are still behind him, but he's going to have to make that judgment. And again, this is what a real political party looks like. It is not a cult of authoritarian personality where one person calls all the shots. And so it's President Biden, it's his advisors, it's governors, it's mayors, it's representatives, it's senators, it's the family, it's America that's involved in this decision. President Biden has never said to America, I alone can do this. I alone will make all the decisions for you. That is the path of dictatorship, and we know who's on that path.
And so your argument, which I think is intriguing, is that this moment that the Democratic Party is going through, or anybody who actually likes democracy in this country is going through, this angst is healthy. It's not a cult. It's not that everybody's got unified messaging on this. And I'm